I'm finna squash that shit. I'm finna get a little bro off that. You know what I'm saying? We gonna, come to an understanding and shit like that. So it was the understanding that I had with my little brother, like, I ain't gonna slide through there. I ain't gonna smoke none of your homies. You hear me? Don't slide through here. Don't smoke none of my homies. Don't shoot at none of my homies. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we gonna leave it. You hear me? Cause then, if you do, then I gotta choose sides. And of course I'm gonna choose my brother's side. That's my blood. You feel me? These my that I grew up with. I don't get no about that when it come to my blood. You know what I'm saying? Niggas be always asking them dumb questions like, what was to happen if, if they did something to Wooski? Then all them niggas gonna die. That's how that shit go. What up, bro? Shit, bro, man, they're going through the little phone. Man, what this is? I'm doing my shit, bro. What's up with the games, bro? We ain't got it right here. I'm doing my whole block. Don't worry about it. Come off the motherfucking gyro, folks, walking through that, folks. On day, folks. Niggas ain't out here, folks. I'm all through this, folks. On clean day, folks. Get them off and let them off know, man. This shit real, man. On day, niggas be talking about they out here. They ain't out there, man. Not at all, man. Straight up, man. We still moseying through this, man, on BD. Folks, man, I'm out here, folks.
In this video, I will explain many reasons why O-Block is finished and mostly likely won't return to its title ever. Ever since the deaths of King Von and T-Roy, O-Block has gradually lost its grip. It's been steadily declining in power and presence, no longer holding the same weight it once did in street politics. It's like they've been slipping further behind in the standings.
Yeah. Look,
Zico. Both of the Jardels. Two. Fuck Hollywood, we out here smoking dope. My man's back there. You see my man's back there, gang shit. My man no say Hollywood, we out here smoking Harvey dope.
yeah.
What? I'm on the block.
All these game numbers. Yeah.
We fucking sad, but then. I'm with this.
Game.
What? I'm on the block.
Those ain't 50 Cent right there. Those ain't 50 Cent.
Ooh. Out here bogus and bulky. Ooh, bogus. Ooh.
Squad. Yeah. Boss Jason, look bitch. Hello. Yeah. It's King Baller. Shout out King Baller, man.
King Von, Gleesh, Munaduke, Muwa, King Von, the Get Back Gang, Big Mike, T-Roy, E-Dog, HK were all major figures who shaped its reputation. Their names rang bells far beyond Block. It's fair to say the BDs held the top spot, mainly because of financial muscle, with King Von bringing in serious money, and Lil Durk continuously investing in the hood. But after Von's death, and with Durk now caught up in federal investigations, the flow of resources has slowed dramatically. Add to that the fact that Chief Keef stopped supporting the block financially, and it's no surprise that O-Block's influence has started to fade. The newer generation coming out of O-Block seems to be struggling, not just with maintaining their presence, but financially too. Without real funding or leadership to push them, their motivation appears to be fading. You have to wonder, should they consider pawning or selling off those diamond chains King Von once gifted them, just to keep things moving? It looks like the money King Von allegedly put up as a bounty for FBG Duck's hit has already been spent. If that was the case, then it's long gone, and there's no real financial fuel left in the tank. Which leads us to the million-dollar question. Where is the Get Back Gang now? They were expected to respond after Muna Duke and O Block Youngin were targeted, but that silence has been loud. Once known as the heart of the action, O Block used to be the home of feared names, killers, shooters, and hustlers alike. Now, many of those original members are either dead or locked up. Key figures like Muwop are behind bars, and without that core group of hitters, the legacy of O Block seems to be fading into the past. Big Mike has been released from prison, but from the outside looking in, it's clear he no longer wants any involvement with gang life. In his appearances on No Jumper and other interviews, he briefly touched on his past, but made it clear he's focused on new ventures, particularly business. When it comes to his history on the streets, only he can truly speak on it, and he seems selective about how much he reveals. There was a time when O Block sat at the top, not just in Chicago, but across the nation. Its name carried weight, especially in the world of street politics and criminal notoriety. It was considered elite when it came to fear, influence, and reputation, leading the charge in a lifestyle that often came with deadly consequences. O Block, 05 Young Money, 63rd, Jero City were some of Big Name's gangs among the top on his scoreboards. It was O Block and 63rd toe-to-toe during the time of King Von of O Block versus Wooski of STL Back and Forth Live videos, taunt each other, made a diss drill song about dead, scary drill songs about who kill who. O Block used to have Get Back Gang when King Von was alive. Then he knew so fast to sustain the gang, you need source of income. So he started to put focus on making musics, and it wasn't just regular songs. It was about his killings he did, his life, school attended, school beefs he was involved with. Let me give you one of the King Von story before we continue with O Block stories. And how O Block taking L after one gone. Long before the fame, King Von and G Herbo attended Hyde Park Academy High School at the same time, that though they were in different grades. Von himself also explained Dunbar incident. The day Von shot up Dunbar with L.A. Capone, M. Tang, and McAdafrom 600 set. King Von, McAdoo 600, L.A. Capone 600, and Thang got a call that Brick Squad had just jumped Blast his Santrix, who ended up getting killed about a week later. Lodi Bay from Welch World also helped. They came up to the school, not knowing which members had exactly jumped them. First Brick Squad member they spotted, CJ, Von shot at, one shot, and then they all bailed out. Trix tweeted and retweeted a bunch of stuff about them going to Dunbar. It seems like someone got jumped, I assume L.A. Capone, and then 600 No Block guys came up there and let off one shot. We're after Brick Squad members, and everyone ran. If have any info on the King Von and L.A. Capone Dunbar shooting he mentions in song, feel free to share with us. Drop it under comment section. Anyway, once King Von realized that dominating the ongoing gang conflicts and keeping O Block at the top required more than just reputation, it demanded real money. He made a calculated shift. Instead of relying solely on street activity, Von focused his energy on music, using drill as both a creative outlet and a strategic move. He began telling his life story through lyrics and interviews, detailing his environment and the violence that shaped him. As his music gained traction, he connected with Lil Durk, who had already become a household name in Chicago and was rapidly growing into a global rap figure. By that time, Durk was already a millionaire with major influence, making it an easy decision to bring the rising talent of King Von into his label, ODF, Only the Family. Once signed to ODF, Von's income grew substantially. With that financial power, he didn't just invest in his career, he gave back to his block. Von started lacing his closest O Block associates with custom diamond-studded O Block chains, each reportedly worth tens, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. These pieces weren't just jewelry. They were symbols of status, loyalty, and dominance. Compared to other gangs in Chicago, O Block's chain stood out as elite. Ironically, someone recently trolled Munaduke and O Block Youngin online, claiming they had been stripped of their chains. What really sparked debate was that the troll allegedly flaunted what looked like a cheap imitation chain, possibly from Temu or Amazon. Rumors suggest he was trolling with Temu chain or Amazon chain. Just by the look, it's looked like Temu chain based on many people. Some said it resembled something elementary school kids could order online. Still, rumors are just that, rumors. Until authorities finish their investigation, no one could say for sure if the chain was actually authentic O Block property or just a look-alike knockoff. Personally, I can't confirm whether it was Munaduke's actual chain, an official O Block piece, or just a cheap replica bought off a Chinese retail site. Time will tell, but the speculation alone shows how symbolic and respected those chains have become. They're trophies in this dangerous game. After joining ODEF, King Von funneled serious resources back into O Block. He provided not just money, but protection, arming the crew with firearms, switches, and vehicles used in street-level operations. This financial and strategic support elevated O Block's standing even further, making them seem almost untouchable at their peak. King Von wasn't just building a music career, he was reinforcing an empire. And for a time, O Block was the most feared name in Chicago streets. King Von provided O Block money and protection by buying all types of big guns, switches, and cars that Yuseto do drive by shootings to pursue the criminal paths. Then, O Block became untouchable. The money was be used to run criminal operations to buy guns, making musics, make beautiful types of women in Southside Chicago and Chicago as whole. Guns were used to protect themselves and also killing the ops. Vaughn was giving O Block and Ophelia hope in a record label deal. Example Muwap, who was close friend to King Von. He had record deal from King Von, and they made many songs together. And also same King Von allegedly put bounty on FBG Duck, about hundreds of thousands of dollars to kill FBG Duck, until FBG Duck ended up losing his life in brutal way. How many of the original O Block members are even left now? Most of them at this point are either in jail or dead. The price of the street life. This cycle going toe-keep, continuing forever, this is sad. But you have Tor Membrel ways. You live by the gun, you die by it. No surprise here. O Block died when Vaughn died. O Block had top killers, shooters, drug dealers, scammers, and they were on top when they had Get Back Gang. But from the looking outside in, it seems like O Block is finished. It's over with it. Reasons could be no funds coming in. One of their biggest artists of this new generation's, well-known new O Block generation's names like Muna E. as we speak, so he's still on a rise, and I'm hoping he get more attention and popular and generate money to help his family in O Block, perhaps by younger generation O Block chains, and give them record deals or drop bag onto the mobs. DQ and Price Dre are decent, but none of them are anywhere near Vaughn's level yet. I don't know if it'll be a Vaughn level rapper anytime soon for Chicago, but with time perhaps they would. But you have to remember Vaughn was killing dough. He was given that title of top O Block killer. Remembers most of the gangs rely on drugs money or drill rapper money to run the criminal operations. This situation is somehow similar to G Herbo, previously known as Lil Herb. G Herbo, though wasn't a killer like King Von, he would hire killers to do the hits by putting money on his ops. Supplying NLMB members with money and drugs, till things fall apart with NLMB Cairo and other NLMB members over East Side Chicago. The money would be used to hire or motivate killers to kill the ops, and that led to the death of KTS Dre of Cutthroat, Shoulda Shells of Black Mob, and many other ops.
Where we finna go, fuck?
Man, food ain't been easy. Yeah.
We finna go to Egypt, fuck. We in Egypt, fuck.
I didn't even know the hell were they thinking. I mean, Muna Duke and O Block Youngin hung out at bars at late night. Sounds like a terrible place to be hanging out drunk if you had known ops. You have to think about it like this. They into with 63rd, took a gang, on GD. But they BDK too. Get Back Gang is one of O Block nicknames they created. It formed after the death of T. Roy on Valentine's 2017, but GBG/Get Back Gang was originally made for Big A, who died December 4th, 2016. GBG/Get Back Gang was mainly led by T. Roy, little brother, HK, and a few more of O'Blockend. 600 members. They killed a lot of their ops like Lil Ho, J-Mo, Poppy, FBG Brick, Kobe Mack, Terry Berry/TB, and Freedio. Can't Get Right, and Dusky 2017/2018. It was really deadly after T. Roy died.
There were a total of 6 people who were shot outside the church. It was a pandemonium, a scene of pandemonium right after that happened. Many of those people who were shot were leaving a funeral inside the church. 6 of them injured, 4 of them were taken by paramedics to hospitals. 2 of them drove themselves. None of their injuries considered life-threatening at this point. Fortunately, no one inside the daycare was injured.
And we just try to comfort them. I mean, I don't know what else to tell them. We don't know what else to tell them. We just hug them and just tell them it's going to be all right.
Sherry Savage says there is so much gunfire in her neighborhood, the kids at her daycare, 2 to 6 years old, already know to duck when they hear shots. And police say they heard a barrage of shots just after noon. They were coming from across the street at a funeral for a local musician known as Dusky DeMan was letting out. His real name is Vantrese Christ. He was killed by gunfire earlier this month. Witnesses today heard a couple of shots at first, apparently fired into the crowd. Then many more, several dozen more shots. Investigators have placed markers indicating where shell casings are located, but so far they have no one in custody.
After the incident happened, I do understand that when the police arrived, it was a very chaotic scene, crime scene extending 2 blocks with shell casings, multiple people shot.
Police say they have not yet determined a motive for this shooting or even whether anyone in specific was targeted. They have just reopened Cottage Grove to traffic as they're wrapping up their investigation here.
The funeral shooting. As the funeral service concluded around 12:30 p.m., mourners began exiting the church. Suddenly, gunfire erupted with over 40 to 50 shots fired in rapid succession. Witnesses described the scene as chaotic, with attendees running for cover and hiding under cars. The victims: FBG Wooski, Marvel Williams, a prominent member of the Fly Boy Gang, FBG, and affiliate of Dusky, was one of the most notable victims. Injury. He was shot in the head and was rushed to the University of Chicago Medical Center in critical condition. Remarkably, Wooski survived and was able to communicate with authorities despite the severity of his injury. His recovery was slow, and the shooting left a lasting impact on his health and career. Others injured. 4 men and 1 woman, aged between 18 and 27, were also injured. They were hospitalized in stable condition, but the incident left the community in shock. The plan to shoot up Dusky's funeral was not about sending a message to STL/EBT. Entire plan was to kill Wooski. O'Block members had been lurking for a while to kill Wooski, but could never catch him lacking on the block. This was the only chance they had to get rid of him. Shooting up Dusky's funeral was planned days ahead, before it all went down. E-Dog, O'Block, posted tweets saying things like, "Get back gang, gonna get rid of him."
So Vaughn was locked up and missed the whole thing. Rage, Duke, Trey 5, McAdoo was locked up. After Vaughn got out, you can say he was claiming GBEG since the line. They say, Vaughn, sit back, cause get back gang, they got my back. Another thing people don't know, Vaughn was actually putting hits from the prison. From his song, he rhymed, "I done sent hits from my cell, damn." Some notable members from GBG/Get Back Gang who are alive are Big Oney, Dello, E-Dog, DQ, Muwop, Cap 600, Galeesh, Wu Thang Duke Squad, Porky 600, Just Below 600. I would have to think if they have a part or not, but people like C Murda, Buka 600, Breezy 600, Memo 600 was around Get Back Gang and kind of claimed Get Back Gang. Buka infamous tweet after T-Roy died in Memo rapping about Get Back Gang work, with all the O-Block members around him. He remembers the stories of Get Back Gang during Dusky funeral till Wooski got shot in the head multiple times. On October 22nd, 2018, Wooski attended the funeral of his friend Dusky Mob, who had been killed 13 days earlier on the 9th by Cap 12, 600, and DQ O'Block. During a funeral, multiple cars, reportedly belonging to Get Back Gang, O'Block and 600 or 800, pulled up and shot at the attendees. Wooski returned fire but was hit in the head. Rumors suggest that Melly was also firing shots toward O'Block and 600 or 800 sets, and it is alleged that one of Melly's bullets bounced off and hit Wooski. Despite sustaining critical injuries, Wooski survived, but he has reportedly been significantly impacted, experiencing cognitive impairment in the years following the incident. Wooski was closed to Can't Get Right, STL/EBT. The Referento Can't Get Right is his partner in crime, that he also had close relationships with Duck, K.I. Gakira Barnes, Lil BBT.FBG Cash, TB/Terryberry, Poppy.FBG Brick. And many others. I have this story of Dusky will be here soon. Anyway, back to O'Block. It looks like O'Block is taking so many L. and I hope these wars stop. It's black on black violence. Police are dirty and system is still corrupted and keeps on killing young black brothers. Basically finest killers at that time from O'Block in Chicago. Honestly, who thought the best place to kill well-known gang member in Chicago was street with luxury clothing, chains, and even worse idea was boasting about it on interview next to getaway card, then get arrested, interrogated, and some even telling and snitch, some don't. It's hard to imagine the violence in Chicago coming to an end, though many of us still hold on to hope. One voice that's been pushing for peace is FYBJ he's been vocal about ending the cycle and uniting the city. But the reality on the ground is tougher. A lot of the gang members simply aren't ready for a truce. The pain runs deep and trust is hard to come by. Even JT, the Bigga Figga, came to Chicago trying to mediate and bring ops together. Trying to get brothers from rival sets to see each other as family again. But the streets are showing signs that they're not quite ready. There's too much history, too many scars. Still, I pray that one day, as vloggers and storytellers, we can look back and say, "Oh, Block and 63rd used to be rivals, but now they're building together, creating businesses and changing lives." Just before Muna Duke was killed, there had been signs of renewed street activity. Names like Muna Duke, Gleesh, Muwop, and Cap had become more active again. But after the recent deaths of Muna Duke and O Block Youngin, the momentum shifted. Still, most of these newer names didn't have the same legendary presence as the older generation. Back in 2016 and before, the streets were run by heavyweights like D-Rose 600, C-Day, Jay Munna, and T-Roy. When one generation dies or goes to prison, the next step's up. That's the cycle. But here's the brutal truth. So much blood has been spilled that even if some want peace, others can't let go. Could it be that too many lives have been lost for anyone to fully lay down their arms? Is the pain too deep for an apology to fix? That's the tragic question. Ironically, the peak years of violence, 2016 and 2017, saw even more bloodshed than 2011 to 2014, even though the earlier years had more active gang members and chaos on the streets. The bodies kept dropping and the trauma kept stacking. Drill music, while still alive, isn't what it used to be, but the lifestyle behind it continues to claim lives. FYBJ Maine deserves real credit for trying to change that. He's putting in work, risking his life, and speaking out for peace. But given the climate, he might need to move with bulletproof protection and armed security. It's getting that serious. Just recently, 051 Kiddo reportedly snatched a $100,000 chain. Proof that the tension hasn't cooled, only shifted. As for the legacy of O Block and 600, their top hitters, whether alive, dead, incarcerated, or free, have left a mark on the city's story. O Block's most feared names include Trey 5, HK, E-Dog, Bangman, Muna Duke, King Vaughn, Bruh. From 600, the standout names are D-Fang, C-Day, Lil Boo, Capo, Bite Down, D-Rose. These are names etched into the streets, into songs, into the memories of a generation. But at some point, the question becomes, how long will this cycle last? How many more names will we add to the list of the dead or incarcerated before peace becomes more powerful than pride? Davon DeQuan Bennett, better known by his stage name King Vaughn, was born on August 9th, 1994 in Chicago, Illinois. He came from a large family with 6 half-siblings on his father's side, Walter E. Bennett, and 3 full siblings through his mother, Taysha. Vaughn was primarily raised by his mother in the Parkway Garden Homes, an infamous housing complex more widely recognized as O Block. Situated on the south side of Chicago within the Greater Grand Crossing neighborhood, O Block would later become a central symbol in Vaughn's identity in music. Vaughn's relationship with his father was sporadic and distant, largely due to Walter Bennett's repeated incarcerations. That already fractured connection was permanently severed when Vaughn was just 11 years old. His father was fatally shot by an unknown assailant. The loss had a profound effect on him, and Vaughn would go on to honor his father's memory in several of his songs. Though King Vaughn would later rise to fame as a rapper, his name was known in Chicago's streets long before he dropped his first track. He emerged during the formative years of the drill music movement, aligning himself with major figures like Chief Keef and Lil Durk. However, Vaughn's teenage and early adult years were deeply entangled in criminal activity, leading to multiple arrests and stints behind bars throughout the 2010s. At the age of 16, in January 2011, Vaughn was arrested for armed robbery and sent to juvenile detention. While incarcerated, he took the opportunity to earn his GED, a rare moment of academic pursuit in a turbulent life. After his release, he briefly enrolled in South Suburban College in South Holland, Illinois, but he ultimately dropped out, shifting his focus fully toward the streets and eventually music. Lil Durk, the estate of the late King Von, and their OTF, Only the Family, label, along with associated record labels and distributors, are facing a civil lawsuit alleging their involvement in the 2020 killing of Chicago rapper FBG Duck. The suit was filed on Wednesday, October 9th, in Cook County Circuit Court, Illinois, by Lashina Weekly, the mother of FBG Duck, as well as two bystanders who were injured during the fatal shooting. The plaintiffs accused the parties not only of being directly or indirectly responsible for the murder, but also of glorifying and profiting from the violence through music and public promotion. A key claim in the lawsuit revolves around an allegation first made public in 2023 that King Von allegedly placed a $100,000 bounty on FBG Duck prior to his death. The suit further asserts that Lil Durk, as Von's mentor and the one who signed him to OTF, shares liability in the alleged conspiracy. While no criminal charges have been filed against Durk in connection with Duck's death, the civil lawsuit seeks damages and holds him and other parties accountable for inciting, financing, and monetizing gang-related violence, specifically the actions that led to the high-profile slaying in Chicago's Gold Coast. The case adds a new layer of complexity to ongoing conversations about the intersection of hip-hop, street violence, and legal responsibility, especially when artists' lyrics and actions blur the line between storytelling and real-life criminal activity. In the midst of all the chaos, violence, and long-standing rivalries, it's important that we start giving credit and flowers to the individuals who are genuinely working to bridge the gap between opposing sides and promote peace in Chicago. FYB Jermaine has been vocal and consistent in pushing for unity, using his platform not just to entertain, but to spark conversation and urge the youth to think differently. He's one of the few who's actively trying to shift the culture and encourage change, despite the risks that come with that stance. Tay Savage and DQ-Affirmed.io also deserve recognition. They've both shown growth and have used their voices to influence their communities toward better choices. They're not just talking about change, they're living examples of what it looks like to evolve. And we can't forget Richway Tilla from out West Chicago. His transformation has been powerful. Once in the streets, he's now committed to spreading a message of peace and positivity. Through his actions, he's showing that it's possible to turn your life around and inspire others to do the same. These men aren't perfect and their paths haven't been easy, but they're doing the real work, trying to heal communities that have been torn apart for generations. In a city often dominated by headlines of loss and conflict, they're offering something different: hope. What do we learn from a story? The story of King Von, O-Block, and Chicago's drill movement is far more than just a tale of music and street violence. It's a window into the soul of a city struggling with systemic poverty, trauma, and survival, wrapped in ambition, loyalty, and the harsh consequences of life on the edge. What we learn from this story isn't simple, but it's deeply meaningful. First lesson is talent and trauma often coexist. King Von was a gifted storyteller. His ability to paint vivid, raw pictures of life on the south side of Chicago made him one of the most compelling voices in drill music. But his rise came tethered to a dark past, one filled with loss, incarceration, and violence. This teaches us that talent often emerges from trauma, and while that makes for powerful art, It also reveals how pain fuels the very culture that artists try to escape. Vaughn wasn't just rapping about violence. He was shaped by it, and tragically, it never left him. We see that even as success grows, the streets often pull harder. Second lesson is the streets are not a myth, they're a system. The drill scene, often criticized for glorifying violence, is also a product of real socioeconomic conditions. Broken homes, underfunded schools, mass incarceration, lack of opportunity, and generational trauma. Oh Block wasn't just a backdrop in Vaughn's lyrics. It was the system that raised him. We learn that the streets are not just dangerous, they're systematic, and escaping them takes more than money or talent. It requires unlearning deeply embedded survival mechanisms, distancing from destructive loyalty structures, and breaking cycles that often feel unbreakable. 2. The streets are not glamorized, they're survived. Much of the outside world views gang life and street culture through the lens of entertainment. Music videos, interviews, social media posts, all of it can make it seem like a game. But when you really listen to the voices coming from places like O Block or 63rd, you hear something different, a fight to survive, not a craving for fame. King Von didn't choose violence, he was born into it. He was raised in a space where conflict resolution didn't come from counselors, but from retaliation, where loyalty could mean life or death, where walking to school could cost you your life if you took the wrong route. We learned that the streets aren't a choice for many, they're a system, a deeply rooted, generational condition created by poverty, abandonment, incarceration, and redlining. And until we address the system, we can't expect the cycle to stop. Third lesson, money can save and destroy at the same time. Vaughn's rise to fame brought wealth not just to him, but to those around him. He put chains on his people, gave them money, bought cars, funded the block. To some, he was a hero, not just a rapper, but a provider, a leader. But money without structure is like gas on a fire. As much as it uplifted, it also empowered the continuation of violence. It allowed people to buy weapons, fund feuds, and pursue enemies. It built an empire, but it was one with fragile foundations. We learned that money is not the solution on its own. Without education, emotional healing, and mentorship, wealth can escalate destruction just as fast as it creates opportunity. The very funds meant to protect the block may have also fueled its collapse. Fourth lesson, loyalty has a price, and it's often life. One of the strongest themes in King Von's life was loyalty. He was O Block to the bone. He rapped about it, died for it, and tried to raise his people up through it. In a world that constantly abandoned young black men, the loyalty between friends and block brothers becomes sacred. But that same loyalty is also a trap. It keeps people from leaving toxic environments. It pulls rising stars back into street wars they no longer need to fight. It pressures people to prove themselves through violence, not growth. Vaughn gave loyalty, and he received it, but it also cost him his life. We learn that loyalty, when tied to cycles of vengeance, becomes a chain rather than a bond. And breaking that chain requires more than willpower. It requires redefining what loyalty should look like, love without destruction. Fifth lesson, peace is a process, not a post. There are people trying to change the story. FYB Jermaine is risking his reputation and his life to promote peace across Chicago's rival blocks. DQFR.io and Taste Savage are also showing signs of maturity, calling for unity. Out west, Richway Tilla has transformed his life and now preaches peace consistently. These are real people, not perfect, but courageous. They're trying to move past old beefs and set a new tone for the next generation. And their efforts remind us that peace isn't a moment, it's a movement. It takes consistent work, uncomfortable conversations, and a willingness to forgive, even when blood has been spilled. We learn that peace can't be forced, it must be chosen. And the more we uplift and support those pushing for it, the closer we get to making it real. Sixth lesson, the cycle of violence doesn't end until we end it. The hardest truth? Every time a shooter dies or goes to jail, someone else steps in. The block doesn't pause for mourning, it keeps going. From D. Rose, T. Roy, HK, and Vaughn to Muna Duke and O. Block Youngin. Names rotate, the violence repeats. We learn that unless someone breaks the cycle, it never stops. The music may change, the slang may evolve, but the streets remember. Until we offer alternatives, create real opportunities, provide mental health care, and rebuild trust, the story stays the same. Seventh lesson, there's no glory in dying young. Vaughn died at 26, Nipsey at 33, Pop Smoke at 20, Juice WRLD at 21. The list goes on. We learn that dying young isn't legendary, it's tragic. These were sons, fathers, artists, and leaders who never got to live their full lives. Their stories become cautionary tales when they should have been long-term legacies. We have to stop romanticizing early death and start celebrating long life. Because true power isn't going out in flames. It's staying alive to build, grow, and change the world. Eighth lesson, you live by the gun. You know the rest. It's cliche because it's true. Vaughn lived by a code. He survived shootouts, street beef, and countless dangerous moments. But eventually, that same energy came back to claim him. We learned that no one outruns the consequences forever. Whether through prison, retaliation, or emotional breakdown, violence always collects a debt. And the only way out is to put down the gun before it becomes your end. Ninth, legacy is bigger than lyrics. Vaughn's music will live on. His storytelling, his energy, his presence, they'll be remembered. But his real legacy will depend on what we do after him. Will the next generation repeat his path or build something better from his blueprint? We learn that legacy is not what you did, it's what you inspired. And if we use Vaughn's life to change the lives of others, then his death won't be in vain. My final thoughts, the story is still being written. The story of O'Block, of Vaughn, of Chicago isn't over. It's being shaped every day by the artists who rap, the kids who listen, the vloggers who document, and the community leaders trying to create light in dark places. We must keep telling the truth. Keep giving flowers to those pushing peace. Keep asking the hard questions, because what we've learned from all this is that real change starts when we stop watching and start acting. And maybe one day, when O'Block and 63rd are doing business together, building instead of bleeding, we'll look back on this era not just as a tragedy, but as the turning point.